Welcome back to the Strength and Speed Podcast. I'm your host, Strength and Speed owner, Evan Preparis. I do not have Brent on the line with me, but I do have another guest. Before we get to that, though, a quick word from our sponsors. So this episode is brought to you by RockTape. I recently went to RockTape's basic certification for actually applying RockTape, and it was really good. Highly recommend it if you're a physical trainer or anyone in the medical profession industry. What I really like about it is, so this RockTape is like $20 for a roll, and it's kind of like an instant, it's not going to heal all your problems, but it is going to help you recover a little bit faster. And during the class, they went over some of the science that actually backs that up. They showed some MRI imaging of people with RockTape on and how it changes the way your movement. And they also showed some, not echocardiogram, but sonogram of basically showing that with the RockTape applied, how it helps decompress your skin and kind of opens up your lymph nodes and blood vessels that are underneath the RockTape. So pretty cool product. I've always been skeptical of it in the past, but after going through the training, I'm 100% on board. I think it's a great thing. And really for the quality of solution you're getting for the price, I mean, you can't beat it. It's a lot cheaper than going out and buying a knee brace or a shoulder brace every time you have like a minor tweak or minor, nagging injury. So highly recommend RockTape. They have an extra sticky variety that I use for racing. So check them out on their website. And if you do pick some up, just tell them the Conquer the Gauntlet Pro Team sent you. All right. Today joining me on the podcast, I have Lance Johnson. Lance Johnson is on the Green Beret Challenge Pro Team. He started racing in 2014 and then switched over to Elite shortly thereafter. He's got a couple of second-place finishes at BFX when they were still around, Battle Frogs multi-lap event. He's got a first at a Tougher Mudder event, and in addition to that, he's done several military-style obstacle courses and challenges. So things like Green Beret Challenge and GoRuck and the selection. And then other than that, he's a big fan of the battle races. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Green Beret Challenge, GoRuck, and battle races. So Lance, welcome to the show.
Hey, Evan. Thank you for having me.
Good. It's good to have you on. We've been trying to get this scheduled for like several weeks, and it's just our schedules just have not been lining up.
Oh, man, I know. I'm sorry about that. It's just, how life goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely understand. If you listen to this podcast, you might know that I typically record a couple episodes in a week, and then I don't record anything for a month just because things get super busy, with life and training and racing and all that other good stuff. So let's start off with, first of all, congratulations on being named to the Green Beret Challenge Pro Team. So let's talk about Green Beret Challenge first. So how many Green Beret Challenge events have you done?
Oh, man, Evan. I think I have done, 10 or 11-ish, maybe 12. I started doing GBC back when they were at Fort Yargo. Anyone that remembers the Fort Yargo race, that was kind of like, I guess, one of the ones that just broke everyone in real well. It was brutal, yet fun, and so everyone walked away rewarded. It was still the 4-person team event, and I think that just kind of showed me that there's a little bit more out there to be offered than just your standard run-of-the-mill, go hit a couple obstacles. It made me want to really jump out there and look for the events that challenge you a little bit extra.
Cool. So for those of us who are not familiar with Green Beret Challenge, can you explain the different types of events? Because I know they have like the Operator, the Commando, the 12, and then a couple more.
Yeah, absolutely. So GBC has, used to do the 4-person team event, which is considered the Commando. About 2 years ago, Marc decided to start doing the Operator, which is just basic obstacle race. He threw his special twist on it, throwing the yoke carry. Anyone that did the NORAM last year remembers the yoke carry. He offers the 12, which he uses as a 12-hour endurance event that's little bit of learning, a little bit of team building, but he uses it as a stepping stone for people to get into the 24-hour behind enemy lines, which initially started out as the same thing, a little team building, and then it went into the learning side, and then he evolved it to where it was more of a learning type event. He didn't want to beat you in the ground for the first couple hours. He wanted to get as much exposure to doing more cool things than having to just kind of grind you down in the beginning. Going into next year, it looks like he's going to be doing a lot more commando. So it'll be going back to the 4-person team events, and pretty excited about that, especially now that there's 4 of us on the GBC team. So it just makes a lot more sense now.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, you guys can roll up with your whole team at some of these events. And I know for this year they have a couple more scheduled. There's one in Alabama, one in Atlanta, and they just announced one in Kansas City on October 20th. So for those of you who are interested in that. Now, have you done the 12 and their 24-hour version?
I've done 2 of the 24 hours. I actually, each time that the 12 has fallen, I've had something already planned out. I actually had a friend get married at the last 12 hour, and the one before that had a birthday party for one of my kids. So neither one I could miss.
Gotcha. So we got the, just for a recap, just so I'm tracking and our listeners are tracking, you have the operator, which is like the normal OCR type course, which actually we just had one in St. Louis a couple weeks ago. I thought it was really cool, the fact that it was a lot of heavy carries mixed with obstacles, because it really mixed up the field, at least for the beginning of the race. Like we went right into some heavy carries, and some of the bigger guys were actually up in the front. Like the top 3 were all like big guys because it was a heavy carry kind of right from the beginning. And then you have the commando, which is the 4-person team, and you're doing basically carries and a mixture of team building type stuff. Now, are those commando ones timed? Is there a ranking?
Yeah, there'll be a ranking to him, and he does give out awards for the top teams. We're still trying to dial in exactly how we're going to do it next year, because I know next year he's kind of going to roll out a whole new, I guess, program for all of that. So he's got some plans up his sleeve for how he wants to do it and kind of just make it stand out, mainly because that's going to be one of his main formats he's going to push next year.
And for those of you not tracking, when we say he, we're talking about Marc Ballas, the owner / race director / founder of Green Beret Challenge. He's a former Special Forces soldier, and he's the one who kind of comes up with all this crazy stuff, based off of military selection and training. And he's also the race director for North American Championships. So for those of you heading out there next month in August, you get to feel the pain that he creates on his courses, which should be fun.
Absolutely, and he's working up some very special surprises for NORAM as well. So that should be very interesting.
Are you going to be heading out to NORAM?
Still undecided. Trying to line everything up with work. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll be able to make it.
Now, the 12 and 24-hour events he holds, the 12 is actually called the 12, and the 24 is behind enemy lines. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Are those competitive, or is that just completion, kind of go, no-go?
It's just completion, go, no-go. It's more of, team building and kind of out of the box, teaching you a little something that maybe you didn't know before. He's done anything from rappelling to, ropeless wall climbs. He's done tactics to break out of zip tie cuffs and get out of rope. Things that could probably get you out of a sticky situation. Something that you would go and pay for in a self-defense class. He wants to bring that to you in another manner. And Marc, he's always going to throw his own special twist to everything.
I know you seem to be drawn into a lot of these like military themed obstacle courses or challenges. Kind of what draws you into them?
I think it's just the additional challenge to them. I always wanted to join whenever I was in high school, and I don't know coming out of high school, my dad was ex-military, his father was ex-military, and Dad just kind of didn't want me to take that path. And then my wife and I were getting very serious at that point, and so just decided at that point in time in life, it just wasn't the right move. Came back to it several times, wanting to, and just never pulled the trigger on it. So I guess partly, I'm definitely envious of everyone that's went out there and served our country. And then, it's really interesting how when you get around those type of people, they kind of tend to rub off some of their ideas and mannerisms rub off on you, and you wind up learning a whole lot of things that you probably wouldn't find anywhere else.
Gotcha. Good answer. So you're on Green Beret Challenges team. You've done a lot of their events, but you've also done another event that's started by Green Berets called GoRuck. So how does Green Beret Challenge compare to GoRuck, and kind of what are your thoughts on GoRuck?
It's kind of like Spartan race to Savage race. They're just two totally different animals. I mean, in essence, they could be very similar in that they're in the same industry, but Savage is going to challenge you a different way, just like GoRuck challenges you differently than Green Beret. Marc has decided that he wasn't going to go through the team building as much in the 24. He wanted to be a lot more learning based, and so he invented the 12. But it's just two totally different animals. I love GoRuck because it's a different group of people, completely non-competitive. It gets you out of the box, makes you think a little bit differently. I will say I went after their GoRuck selection last year, and that was an eye-opener, to say the least. I felt like I was very prepared, and was awakened that I was not nearly ready for such a adventure. Still proud of what I did, but definitely taught me a couple of things about how I need to I need to respect a couple more events a little bit more, probably. I was a little too confident in myself, I guess.
It's kind of hard not knowing too many details going into the event and how to prepare for it. So may I ask what kind of got you, or what was it did you end up quitting, or was it like a failed event that eliminated you?
Oh no, I definitely had to quit. I had to drop. I put in the training and put in the work. But just little mistakes cost you. I overtrained with a 45-pound plate in my ruck. You're required to only be 45 pounds plus your food and your water. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to go for the gusto and overtrain. What I didn't take into account for was when I dropped to my event weight, that having that 45-pound plate gave me a much larger base to do overhead presses or anything overhead with my ruck. So when I went to a shorter plate, it took some of that away, so it changed up how I was going to be holding it. It kind of threw me off balance, and it just started taxing my shoulders really, really fast. And actually, my left shoulder just finally shut down. They had us doing crawls through the mud and dragging my ruck. And at that point, if I had to guess, that ruck, wet, 45 pounds, then you throw your water, there's mud all in it. It was probably bumping 60 pounds or better. And, well, crap, you know how little I am. I'm only about 140 pounds, so bumping half my weight, dragging it with one arm, my arm just gave out and I had to drop. But I'm still ecstatic. I made it 10 hours on my first attempt, and it won't be my last either.
Gotcha. Any plans to go back this year, or you're saving it for next year or maybe the year after?
I'm going to save it for next year. This year they're going to be in Bellbrook, Ohio, and next year they will be back down in Jacksonville. So Jacksonville is more like my climate at home. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, so the heat should be a little bit of an advantage for me again, and that'll give me plenty of time to rebuild and plan accordingly.
I'm shocked you're from the South. You don't sound like it at all.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm about as country as they get, huh?
Yeah, I do have some. I actually have a couple cousins in Mobile, Alabama. So I've actually been down there a couple times. They're from the husband is from Mobile. The female, the one that I'm related to, is from the Northeast. So she moved down there. It was a culture adjustment when she moved.
Oh yeah. And not to mention the nonstop summer down here. We get 2 weeks of the winter, and then it's summer again.
Yeah. So if there's someone getting ready to go to GoRuck selection this year or next year, or even Green Beret Challenges 24 behind enemy lines, what's a piece of advice or a couple of key pieces of advice you'd give to them?
One thing I would say is mental prep. Your body can do a whole lot more than what you think it can do. So if you're sound mentally, you can go a lot further than what you ever thought you could go. It's just keeping your head in the game nonstop. Outside of that, you just got to kind of think outside the box sometimes on your training. The standard going in and hitting the gym for 30, 45 minutes isn't going to cut it. You got to kind of get outside and throw yourself in some awkward situations and come up with some out of the box training. And I'm sure you know all about that.
I do, yeah. I mean, we used to help guys get ready for selection, like actual military special forces selection. And there's like a handbook that they give you that's like, here's some generic preparation thing. And basically it had increasing ruck marches of various length. And I had a couple of friends that were getting ready to go, and they're like, oh, well, I did everything but the last like week or two of the manual. And the last week or two of the long ruck marches, they're like 18 and 20-mile ruck marches. And I was like, oh, you didn't do the last 2 ruck marches? Like, that's the most important part, like, because it just sucks, and it's, time with weight on your back, and it's making sure your feet are ready to go, and making sure you have a good pair of boots. And for these events, a lot of times, if there's a packing list, it's usually recommended, you have 2 pairs of boots that are very good and are not going to give you blisters absolutely no matter what, because eventually your first pair gets wet, and then you're like, all right, well, I got to put on the second pair, and people have boots that are not broken in, so it usually goes poorly for those people. But
yeah, and like you said, I mean, you get out there, and that something about that long ruck march, whenever I was getting ready for selection last year, the getting out there and timing myself to do something kind of quick wasn't that bad, but whenever I just struck out for a long distance, you just kind of got to stay out of your own head. You get in your head and you're like, oh man, this is terrible. I just want to stop. And you just got to kind of break through the mental barriers a little bit. So I can definitely feel you there. And also thank you for your service to the country, Evan.
Oh, my pleasure. I enjoy it. It doesn't feel like service most of the time. But yeah, I will say the thing you said about, you can go a lot further than you think you can, and obviously I 100% agree with that. I mean, that's one of what I've been doing in endurance sports for the last couple of years, really kind of pushing my own personal limits. And I set up challenges that are like, at first initial glance, I'm like, this is too hard, but everything is in baby steps. So, if you're listening to this and you've only done a Warrior Dash and you're looking at taking the next step, just increase incrementally, slowly over a couple of years, and I think you'll be surprised at how far that those kind of baby steps, just making a little bit of progress every year can take you.
Absolutely.
So, all right, let's talk a little bit about Battle Race. So Battle Race is a series in the kind of southeastern portion of the U.S., Louisiana area. So tell me a little bit about them, because I've seen pictures of you online after the race, standing on the podium, holding some pretty cool awards. So yeah, give me a rundown of what Battle Race is.
So Battle Race is ran by SGX trainer. That'd be Sidney Paul Morris. And actually, he has just rebranded. He had, I guess, a different partner last year, and they went separate ways. And this year, he's kind of stepping out on his own, and he's actually got a race coming up weekend, the 21st. And I'm pretty excited. He does the elite, he does a multi-lap wave, and Sidney does a good job of just kind of he does the thinking outside the box. He takes a good obstacle and he improves upon it. He likes to be challenged himself. So if it was tough at a standard monkey bar, he wants to go in there and throw a rope climb or a traverse to the backside of it, make it a little bit longer, add some difficulty, and he likes to pile the obstacles in there. So it just makes it to where you take out some of the trail running and you get to do some more of what you came to do anyways, is pound out some more obstacles.
About how long are the races?
Typically around 5 miles. So 5 to 6 mile loop. So it's right there in line with what Battle Frog used to do with BFX, and so it works out perfect. I kind of brings back the old memories of running the BFX courses.
Gotcha. So there's an elite wave, there's a single lap elite wave, right? There's a single lap open wave, and then there's a multi-lap option?
Yes, sir. And
how long's the multi-lap option?
The multi-lap, last year he did 8 hours. I believe this year will be 9 hours because he's going to start the multi-lap ahead of the elite wave. So we'll take off at 6, and then elite will take off at 7.
Oh, that's interesting. Wonder how that's going to work out.
He did it last year, and I wound up only running the elite wave at his championship race last year, his last event last year, and it worked out just right. The multi-lappers were already to the end of the course, the ones that were really going to be competing against you, or competing heavily out there. The other ones, they knew the elites were coming, so if they heard you or saw you coming, they kind of shifted over and let you come on through. But it seemed to work pretty seamlessly by then.
Nice. And how many events do they typically hold a year, and in what locations-ish?
He tries to stay right there in the Louisiana area. He did do one in Gulfport, Mississippi last year, but he did 3 events last year. This year he's only doing just the one, and then he's hoping to build up for next year. He's getting some new obstacles together and trying to build another set of sadistic obstacles, I guess.
Nice. Now, okay, give me some of the examples of some of the obstacles. I know you mentioned a couple of them already, but
yeah, he's got one he calls Limitless, and you being the grip type person you are, you would absolutely love his obstacles because he likes to do a lot with grip strength. But Limitless can be monkey bars into a rig, back into monkey bars. He might throw a traverse or rope climb into it, or start with rope climb and go into the monkey bars. He likes to just throw all different variations in anything like that. Then he did a really neat setup for his hoist. And instead of doing a traditional Herc hoist where everything was hooked up already for you, he made you go get your own sandbag and hook it up yourself and then put it back in place. So you kind of made your bed and laid in it too.
Interesting.
He does some of the obstacles that you've seen at other races. He has a variation of Stairway to Sparta, I believe. He has a variation of that. He likes to do several walls. He does a lot with brute force, so he gets the brute force giant ball sandbags, and he'll actually do, instead of just having a bucket, he'll do that for his carry. And those are pretty tough because he'll end it with a box, or have a box jump midpoint, so you got to set that down, do your box jump, come back, get it, and go again. I'm trying to think of there was another really. Oh, he does Dragon's Back. He calls it Leap of Faith, and he likes to throw that one out there just to. I mean, you know how it goes. It's more of a mental obstacle than anything. So you see lots of people get up there and they just they cave right there, and it's really interesting because it's from the ground. It's not that far of a jump, but from up there it must seem like miles if you're not used to heights.
Yeah, it's deceptive because I remember the first year it was at OCR World Championships was 2015, and I didn't make it that year. But I remember seeing it and being like, I don't understand what the big deal is. And then I went the next year in 2016, and they still had it. And I was like, oh yeah, no problem. And I got up there, and like for a second, my mind was like, this is a bad idea. Like you're gonna slam into this post and fall on your face.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's I like it. I think it builds a well-rounded athlete, and it makes sure you're confident in multiple disciplines. It's not all grip strength. It's not all balance, or it's not all heavy carries. It's well-rounded, and I think that's one of the things that makes OCR great is it forces you out of what may be your comfort zone and forces you to adapt and adjust and become better. So,
absolutely, I think that's important with all the race series out there now. So many other series are bringing out that, hey, we're not going to just throw the traditional obstacles. We're gonna throw a little extra something to them, and I really enjoy it. It makes you work a little different and makes you want to come back for more.
Yeah, totally agree. Again, I think that makes OCR very interesting from a someone who follows the sport, is because the different variations and the different obstacles and the different challenges can really affect the field, the finishing order. Versus if you look at the start line of a 5K and you ask people their PRs, you can pretty much rank everyone without even running the race.
Absolutely.
Especially at a smaller race, it's like, oh well, this guy's PR is 2 minutes faster than mine, so I'm obviously not going to beat him. But I will run my own race and see what happens. But with obstacle course racing, especially a mandatory obstacle completion, you can get stuck at things and changes the order significantly.
Yeah, and I completely believe that as well. I remember Pegatron last year, and I definitely want to come find another Conquer and get a little redemption on that.
Yeah, that usually gets people the first time. Luckily, the first time they rolled it out was Tulsa, and I was not there for that event, so it was the last race of 2015, so I had time to train up and be ready for 2016. But if it would have been shown up without me prepping or knowing about it ahead of time, I definitely would have failed. It's an adjustment.
Yeah, it definitely was way more difficult than I had anticipated because you're just working so many muscle groups at one time, and before you know it, you're just spent.
And then on top of that, it's in the middle of your heart rate's high. It's in the middle of a long course, relatively 4 miles with pretty hard obstacles. And then the other thing that's weird that a lot of people have trouble with is the pegboards most people practice at home. You put the peg in and it goes in like 1.5 inches, and it hits the wall, right? It locks out. Yeah. Versus Pegatron, you can stick the whole peg in there, and you can the peg can disappear. It can fall off the backside if you really wanted it to, and that makes it challenging because you need to put enough of the peg in where it locks down and you can hang off it, but not too much where when you go to transition, now your back peg is essentially stuck in the board. So definitely an adjustment.
Yeah, or you're not paying attention and you just go to slam up there and it's actually a blank and there wasn't a hole there to begin with. And that got me. That definitely got me.
That's gotten me before. Yeah.
But it was awesome. That perfect example of innovation right there. Just thinking outside the box.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I know straight off topic a little bit, but battle race for those of us or those that are big on medals and prizes. What's the prize? What kind of prizes do they offer? Is it monetary? Is it something else? Medals, etc.
Last year he did he had to deal with Highlight, and you got a gift card to Highlight for podium. I'm not really sure what he's going to get this year as far as monetary compensation. But the medals were pretty cool. And he did, something a little bit different. He did different lanyards for the different areas he did the race. He had talked about maybe instead of doing like a pin, like Savage does with Syndicate or, the others, he talked about maybe doing like a patch system. He typically will step out and do a pretty cool award. He did swords in 2016. I got a couple shields last year.
Yeah, that's what I remember seeing on your timeline. Those big shields.
Yeah, the shields are pretty cool, and they're actually a little sharp in some places. So it made that much more cool. And those were all handmade. I can't remember what he did for the championship. He did something pretty cool there too. I think he did like a special one-off plaque or something. He doesn't he doesn't want everyone's award to be the same. He wants them to stand out a little bit, so he keeps changing it up, which I think makes it a little bit more personal. You want to get out there and get as many as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, a couple more questions, then we'll let you go. I know your Instagram handle is Goldfish Athlete. So explain why that is your Instagram handle, because that is very bizarre. And when I think of like fierce OCR competitor, I don't think of Goldfish.
Well, the Goldfish Athlete came around. Oh man, I can't remember if it was 15 or 16. It was just a couple of us joking, about different people's, I guess, race names, and somebody, talked about, you should do something that you really like, just as a joke. And I was sitting there eating goldfish. I just have this knack for just sitting down and I'll eat goldfish by the bag. I mean, just in a single sitting. And honestly, I have to say we're frequent buyers at Costco of the 3-bag box, and it doesn't last very long around the house. Mainly because of me, not really the kids. The kids will share, but it's pretty much all me. But it started off as a joke, telling people, oh yeah, I'm the Goldfish Athlete. And it has just blown up from there. There's been pictures where people's photoshopped a bag of goldfish in my hand during a race or after a race. During GoRuck selection, it was actually turned into goldfish selection. And I'm pretty sure I got a little extra punishment because of that, because I didn't really understand in the moment, but all of a sudden the cadre started screaming at me, asking me if I understood what a patch for GoRuck selection looked like. And then they asked what the guy was carrying. And then shortly thereafter, I realized that somebody photoshopped on and moved the log off the guy's shoulders and put a goldfish on there and changed the patch up and posted it to the GoRuck page during the event. So I'm pretty sure I got a little extra punishment. So, but it started off as a joke, and then everyone just started knowing me by that. I'll be out on course, and everybody just hollers out goldfish now. So it's just stuck. Now it's just become a permanent name, I guess.
Nice. I did not expect it to have to do with the snack. I was thinking of actual goldfish. I'm not sure where I thought the answer was going to go, but my 3-year-old loves goldfish. There's a pink kind, like princess pink goldfish. So
oh yeah,
I don't know if you tried that one. I think it tastes exactly the same. They just like dyed it pink, but
yeah, I think it just tastes the same. I actually had a friend get me some of those for my birthday present. My birthday actually consisted of several bags of goldfish from a friend.
Nice.
So it's just one of those things that I have a thing for goldfish, and it just stuck.
All right. What big plans you have coming up for the rest of 2018?
Hopefully, for the rest of 2018, I can get back out racing like normal. Kind of started off kind of up and down. I got sick at the beginning. Started off with a little bit of a touch of pneumonia, and then ran a marathon, thought everything was good, and tweaked my hip, and I've been trying to get it dialed back in here lately. And I feel really bad because all my teammates with Green Beret and Human Octane are out there killing it, and I am just kind of sidelined trying to get everything right. Flares up for no rhyme or rhythm, and get out there. I can run 5 or 10 miles one day, or might do 15, and then the next day I can't get 2 miles in it, and I have some pain. So got to get that dialed in so I can get back to training as normal.
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned you're on the Human Octane team also. Tell us a little bit about Human Octane.
Okay, Human Octane is a fairly new apparel company. They Brent Kokow, he started it up, with a sole ambition of building a type of gear that was designed specifically for obstacle racing. You've got everyone knows you've got your typical 2XU, you've got your Marina Sport, you've got Second Skin now, and you've got the same people out there, and they throw the same basic color combinations together, unless you order something special. And Brent wanted to do something different. He wanted to break the mold and make something loud, make something that honestly it's like a product I've never really had. The gear just feels amazing. It sheds water real well, sheds the mud off real well, cleans up amazing. And after a ton of uses, it's still good. And he does guarantees that if you don't like it, send it back. He's just one of those people that he races. He wanted the best out there, and he said, you know what? I haven't found anything that I just really, really fell in love with, so I'm gonna make something. And I think he's doing a phenomenal job with it. He obviously he's got to be pretty good because Rose is now part of the team as of this year, and
oh, nice! I don't think I knew that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
She's on board, and I think Rose has been around long enough that if she didn't believe in something that she wouldn't have to, and so I think that speaks volumes for the gear itself.
If you're not tracking, you're listening to this, we're talking about Rose Wetzel-Sinnott. So it's been on Ninja Warriors, been on the Spartan Pro team for I don't know how many years she was on that team, but a long time. Definitely one of the best female obstacle course racers, period. So big deal if you're not familiar with her.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was blown away when he told us that she was going to be part of the team. And like I say, I think that just speaks volumes for that. Hey, this is actually good quality gear, and I look for big things to constantly keep happening. This year he debuted his elite compression gear, and last year we had the compression line shorts, but I was blown away by the just straight elite compression gear. The comfort, the fit, has pockets you can access from both sides that you can, instead of typically being able to only put one gel or whatever you carry with you, you only had very limited room. Now you can I've had as many as 4 gels in the back of that pocket. It's just huge. And it's got mesh on the back, so it drains really well. So I'm in love with the gear.
Cool. Sounds like a good company. I have not had the pleasure of trying them myself, but I am a big fan of any company that is specifically looking and supporting obstacle course racing, right? I think there's companies that are, just kind of basically looking to sell to anyone, and then there's companies who are investing in the sport and looking to give back and et cetera. Like Mud Gear, you'll see at like all over the place sponsoring all sorts of events. I think Human Octane, again, with them specifically designing stuff for OCR, is great for the industry and great for the sport. So,
absolutely, and he actively takes feedback from the people that actually use the gear. He doesn't want an outside source taking saying, "Oh, you could sell 1,000 more units a month if you just did this." He wants to know what we actually want, what's going to make it better for us, and so I think that says a lot.
Cool. Now, I know a lot of athletes are, getting age group podiums or trying to be more competitive and are looking for sponsorship or deals or brand ambassadorships with companies. How did you end up getting linked up with Human Octane and with Green Beret Challenge? Did you reach out to them, or did they reach out to you, or something else?
Well, let's see. We'll start with Human Octane because that one happened first. I actually joined their team at the tail end of 2016. That was just one of those things. I was, it was perfect timing. Brent was looking for a couple people to spread the word and to be part of the team. And I just lucked up and reached out and told him that I was also interested in finding somebody that was, that was interested in doing something in the sport and, being a little bit different. And he, when I realized that he wasn't just one of those people out there throwing out, well, I'm doing something for this sport and I want to be tailored just to this sport. I realized really quickly he was 100% into it. He, his heart was where he said it was, and the guy is stuck on quality. If it's not perfect, he doesn't want any part of it. He wants top-notch quality and nothing less. And that's somebody I want to be part of. And so we reached out to each other, and it just clicked. And I'll hear from him. If I haven't talked to Brent in a couple weeks, I'll get an email or a text, and hey, how are you doing? What's going on? If I go and race, he knows that I'm racing, and he'll either text myself or my wife and check up on me. He actually, in the middle of the night during World Stuff, was both years. He's texting my wife, hey, how's he doing? Everything going good? And I mean, it's pretty awesome. He's a really phenomenal person on a personal level and on a business level. So I'm ecstatic to be part of the team. And then with Green Beret Challenge, I've known Marc ever since that Yargo event, and just one of those things. We kind of sparked a friendship there, and as time's pressed on, we've talked about it off and on. And he said he finally sent me a text one day. Hey, it's, things are coming around, and start building a team together little by little. And funny story was, the day that he announced that I was on the team, I didn't know. I actually went into work early that morning, and I guess I was in at work at like 4 a.m. or something. And so I just left my phone in my service truck. I'm a mechanic for Alabama Power, and sometimes I don't always carry it with me. Came back over, grabbed my phone, and it went off, and it was Deborah Arietta on my team, and she's ecstatic. She's congratulating me. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. What are we celebrating? And she's like, so I take it you haven't been online today? I was like, no, this is like 8 o'clock. I've been at work for 4 hours now. I just got back to my phone. What's up? It's like, oh, well, you're officially part of the team. It's on Facebook. It's like, oh, well, that's awesome. And so then it all made sense. But it was pretty funny. She got to have her a good laugh over that, and Marc definitely picked on me a little bit about it. But it was just one of those awesome scenarios that he decided he was going to surprise me, and it definitely worked out as a surprise.
Yeah, that's good. I think so. I wasn't sure how you were going to answer that, but I'm glad you answered it the way you did. So the first one with Human Octane, people ask me about it all the time, like, oh, well, how do I get sponsored or get an ambassadorship or whatever? And I'd say the first thing is you got to reach out to people. Like, people don't know you use their gear unless you're specifically like, hey, I use your gear. Are you interested in ambassadorship, partnership, whatever you want to call it, sponsorship? So I think reaching out to companies is great if you are interested in representing them on a professional or semi-professional type level. And then the other thing with the Green Beret Challenge one, you had already built up a name and a personality with the owner and with the race series. You said you've done, 12 Green Beret Challenge events?
Yeah.
which I mean is a lot, right? For a race company that doesn't hold that many events a year, and that are fairly spread out. So, showing up to finding a brand that you want to represent and showing up to multiple and making a name for yourself and getting to know the owner and things like that, that all helps. It also shows you're in the sport for the long term. I get asked all the time, how do I get on the Conquer the Gauntlet Pro team? And it's like, well, how many Conquer the Gauntlet races have you been to? And they're like, well, like one. It's like, well, you probably need to show up to more than one, or 2 races, and you need to do well. And then, again, you need to show this is not a 1-year passing fad, that you've been involved in the sport for a couple of years and you're planning on continuing. You're not just here to show up for a year and then disappear off the radar.
Absolutely. So. And to compound on that, it's like you're saying, you need to go and you need to use the gear, or you need to run the race. And I think that translates to you need to be a believer in whatever you're using. I don't want to be part of anything that I don't think is a good product or a good event or anything like that, because I think if you're part of too many things that you're not very active with, it just kind of shows that you're not really into it, or you're not being real about it. I want to have a little bit of a personal connection. I want to use the gear and just wear it out. I want to show that, hey, look, I believe in it so much that I'm going to use this stuff until it has holes, not because I got it in barbed wire, but because it's just so comfortable that I don't want to stop wearing it, or I want to keep running this race because every single time it challenges me over and over and over again to where I'm constantly improving myself. And, there's several startup companies that you can reach out to, I think, out there. And, you just drop your name in the hat and say, hey, I want to be part of whatever you're doing. But at the end of the day, people are going to kind of dissect that pretty quickly, I think, in today's day and age, that, hey, this person's actually been using this, or, they use it on a regular basis to where I feel comfortable that they've broken it in for me. And so I know that if I spend my hard-earned money to do this, it's something quality.
All right, I think we're going to get going. Any final shout-outs you want to give, or I don't know if you know any behind-the-scenes or upcoming major Green Beret Challenge news that you want to share? I think that would be cool, whatever you got.
Marc has got a deal coming up with, he's going to headquarter over in Texas, and I hope I can pronounce this right. I believe it's Reveal Ranch over there. He's going to do a headquarter there. So that's going to be pretty awesome. I don't know the exact details. Marc likes to surprise us from time to time. But I know that next year he wants to push the original, the Commando, really heavily. I think that's going to be some of the biggest GBC news coming up. I know a lot of people love the Operator, but then there's also kind of the group of people that really want the Commando back also. And the Operator is not over. It's just he's seen it comes in waves, just like anything. He'll probably run the Commando for a while and mix it up again and throw some more Operators in the mix. But I know he wants to push the Commando heavily again. As far as human octane news, I know Brent's working on some new designs, and he wants to keep, breaking the mold and pushing the limits and putting out superior gear out there for us. And he wants to give us more loud styles, which I think is really cool, instead of just a plain Jane black compression gear. And outside of that, I think that's the major highlights. I did join up as a ambassador with Salming Running, and I'm loving their shoes, period. The OCR shoes and the road running shoes. That's been a pretty terrific company to work around with also. ran several races with both, and it's just a minimal feel, but it feels like you got a maximum cushion in it. So it's pretty cool stuff there also. Look forward to do a little bit more with them as well.
Cool. Sounds like some good sneak peeks of things to come. When you say Marc's going to open up a headquarters in Texas, is that going to be like a permanent obstacle course / training / race facility? Is that what you mean, or is that what does that mean exactly?
Well, I'd be lying if I told you exactly, but I know there are some plans to try to make a race there. So if I had to assume him doing a headquarter there, he's probably going to try to do something semi-permanent at least. So he's got big plans up his sleeves, and we're working together, to see where I can pitch in, or the team in general can pitch in. So he's keeping us in the mix as much as he can as he gets more details of what he's going to do next. Right now it's just like everything. As the year's starting to push towards the championship season and the end of the year, everyone's trying to gear up for next year. So he's trying to nail down 100% definites leading into the following year. And as he gets more details, I'm sure he's going to blow it up on social media, and so will we.
Nice. Well, I look forward to it. I'm sure there's lots of exciting things coming. Final shout-outs I'm going to give real quick. I think we only have 2 Bleg mitts left in stock in our store. They are size small, so if anyone wants them, I would order them ASAP because they go pretty fast. And then other than that, Mud Run Guide's ultra-ocr Bible, also available in my online strength and speed store. So you can head over and pick that up if you're interested in these endurance-type races. Now, the book focuses on multi-lap obstacle course racing, specifically things for like Toughest Mudder or Spartan Ultra Beast or Dirt Runners multi-lap option or Shale Hell, which recently announced their closing after their final event in February. But the training principles and so a lot of the thought processes and techniques that are in that book can be applied to selection-type events like we talked about on this podcast. Specifically, there's a lot of stuff in there about having your mind right going into an event and, how to prepare and ensure that you are strong enough mentally to make it all the way to the end. So I think it's a lot of great information in there. I wrote the book, so I'm obviously very partial to it. And when I wrote the book, I didn't hold anything back. So, any of my quote-unquote secrets or tricks or techniques or stuff like that, I put everything in there. And when I was writing it and my dad was proofreading it, he's like, aren't you worried your competitors are going to read this and then, they can claw back a couple of minutes that you've gained over them from some of the stuff? And it's like, well, I think I'm going to help out more people in the long run doing this. And on top of that, I think the people who are really going to benefit from it, the people who are right around my placement, probably don't think they need to read my book. So I don't even think those people will read it. But I think it's obviously a great resource, so definitely check that out if you're interested in multi-lap endurance type stuff. Lance, thanks again for coming on the show. And
thank you for having me, Evan.
Yeah, good. Glad we could finally make this happen. And I will see you. I hope you make it out to a couple more Green Beret Challenge events this year. I should be at 1, maybe 2 of them before the end of the year.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely planning on making as many as I can make. Atlanta, Alabama obviously because it's in my home state. And I think there's 2 more that I'm going to try to make. I want to make the Kansas one. Just got to, how it goes. Got to see how parent duties go and how work goes. So I got to do the adulting also.
Cool. I'll hit you up after this. Maybe I can give you a free place to stay if you come up to the Kansas City one.
Awesome.
All right. I'll catch up with you later.
Thank you, Evan.